Okay. Hi, Marshall. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course, we are loading as we speak with the participants, and let's get to a critical mass, and we'll sort of get started. I'm in Los Angeles. Where are you?
Oh, right now I'm in Nashville.
Brilliant. So as I'm just watching the chat box here. It's my favorite part. You can see folks from all over the world: South Africa, Lebanon, Philadelphia. Someone else from Nashville, Marshall. Monica Miller.
Really? Well, whoever's from Nashville, my email address is marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. I'm going to be gone for about a month, but send me an email. Maybe I could take a walk almost every day, and maybe we'll schedule a time to take a nice walk together, whoever you are from Nashville, my neighbor.
I hope you heard that, Monica Miller. That was an invitation specifically for you. Washington, D.C., Bangalore, Germany, Manhattan, Chennai, Spain. Okay. All right. Let's get started because we have a lot to talk about. Um, well, first of all, welcome to International Coaching Week, Kucharya's week of spiritually themed webinars. We had our first one yesterday. This is our second one with Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him regardless. Dr. Marshall Goldsmith has been recognized as one of the top 10 business thinkers in the world and the top-rated executive coach at the Thinkers 50 ceremony in London since 2011. Published in 2015, his book Triggers is a Wall Street Journal and New York Times #1 bestseller. He's also the author of New York Times bestseller and #1 Wall Street Journal business book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Winner of the Hare Longman Award as the best business book of the year. Marshall's mission is simple. I want to help successful people achieve positive, lasting change in behavior for themselves, their people, and their teams. I want to help you make your life a little better. I am Pranav Ramanathan, CEO of Kucharya, and I am honored to be speaking to you, Marshall. It's always a pleasure, and there are always laughs involved. That's what I love the most when we connect. In preparation for this, I did a lot of research, and I almost went into method acting mode where I read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, reread it, I should say. I watched a bunch of Netflix documentaries on spirituality and Buddhism, and then I also read this book, The Earned Life, which has influences from your own experience with Buddhism specifically. Right. So let me start with this quote that kind of resonated. It's at the intro of the book. Gautama Buddha said, "Every breath I take is a new me."
Right.
You are self-admittedly a philosophical, not a metaphysical Buddhist.
Right.
And you came upon Buddhism at age 19. What is the origin story?
Well, what happened is I got kicked out of the fundamentalist Southern Baptist Church at age 14 for my terrible attitude. I really didn't become a Buddhist because I was converted to Buddhism. I became a Buddhist because I started studying Buddhism and realized that's what I believed. So it's very congruous to my belief. Now, getting started, there are many schools of Buddhist thought. Buddha, in short, said, only do what I teach if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Given that idea from Buddha, the Buddhist philosophies are quite different. So many people can legitimately say they're Buddhists who believe almost the opposite of what I do. So just to help clarify what I mean by being a philosophical Buddhist, to me, I'll give you a very short version of the essence of Buddhism. Buddha, if there was a Buddha, if not a metaphorical Buddha, was brought up very rich. Father was a king and was protected from life, was able to sneak outside the palace 3 times. The first time he was able to sneak outside the palace, what did he learn? People get old. All that money and status and stuff, people get old. Oh, not so good. Second time, you get sick. Round 3, you die, old, sick, and die. And his father's philosophy had always been give him more. Well, all this more stuff is nice, but you know what? You still get old, you get sick, and you die. That's not so much. Buddha left the palace, and he realized getting more is not going to make him happy. Then he tried to find peace and happiness through less. He starved himself, lived like a hermit. You know what he learned? It didn't work either. You know what he finally realized? You can never find happiness and peace with more. You can never find happiness and peace with less. There's only one thing you can find happiness and peace with, what you have. And there's only one place now. Now, I will explain to everyone listening the exact location of nirvana. Are you ready? I'm going to teach you that right now. Nirvana is listening to a webinar with a friendly old Buddhist guy, some old bald man, right now. Here it is. This is it. You want to know where heaven is? It's right here. How about hell? Right here. How about nirvana? Right here. So my basic belief is it's not out there. It's in here. It's not out there. It's in here.
Wonderful. I'll make that 2 friendly old bald men. How about that, Marshall?
2 old bald guys.
I love that, the concept of nirvana, and I'm going to get back to the other thing you said. You talked about the ephemeral nature of our being.
That's right.
And before we go there, Buddhist philosophy has influenced your coaching ethos. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah,
As it pertains to leaders.
Yeah, Buddhist philosophy has impacted my coaching in many ways. One of the most important things I've invented is a term called feed forward. Now, feed forward is the essence of something called stakeholder-centered coaching, which has been taught to thousands of people around the world. Well, feed forward is something I learned from Buddhism. Buddha said, only do what I teach if it works for you. So in feed forward, I teach my clients to ask for input, to listen to the input, and to treat it like a gift, and to say thank you. Don't judge, don't critique. You don't have to agree with it. Don't promise to do everything. Just learn to shut up, listen, take notes, say thank you, and communicate appreciation to people. This is not a complicated idea. That's something I learned from Buddhism. And the other thing, back to what you mentioned, so that's one of the keys that I learned from Buddhism, feed forward. The other thing is basically accepting, as you said, the impermanence of everything, of life, of achievement, of everything. As I say in the book, every time I take a breath, it's a new me. We're in a constant cycle of starting over. Someone once asked me, is Buddhism about reincarnation? Buddhism is about nothing but reincarnation. That's all it is. We're constantly reincarnating ourselves. We're constantly starting over. We're constantly beginning a new life. And one of the things I teach in coaching is don't stereotype yourself. Well, as long as people say that's the way I am, guess what? Probably never going to change. So I ask people, do you always have to be this way? You've been this way in the past. Do you have to be this way for eternity? Do you have an incurable genetic defect that's forcing you to do this for the rest of your life? Well, probably not. Well, given the fact you don't have to be this for eternity, you can probably change. So with my clients, we can all change. We can all change. Why? We're always starting over anyway. We're always in a constant restart. Now, this is a very non-Western, very, very non-Western philosophy. What is the Western ethos? The Western ethos is, I will find peace when, I will be happy when. Money, status, BMW, PhD, client, marriage, something that's out there. And once I get there, everything is going to be okay. Once I get there, a great message of Buddhism is there is no there. There's no place called there. Every time I
It's
take a breath, I'm starting over.
it's such an interesting. I had to think about that for a second. Every time I take a breath, I'm starting over. But it ties so well into the coaching fundamentals of neuroplasticity, the ability to change, to be better, right? And it's incredible. And you referenced that your stakeholder um, centric coaching. I want to actually quote from your book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. You have 21 key takeaways,
Yes.
good habit shifts. And I feel like it's apropos for me to now just list the top ones for me, which are, and then please feel free to add yours, Marshall.
Sure.
Don't ever say yes, but, or start with no. It's demeaning. Praise in public, criticize in private. Don't steal credit for what someone else did. Say thanks and apologize if someone's hurt, always profusely. Don't speak when angry. Anything to add?
Yeah, well, those are all, very
Great.
important. I'd say the number one I have to deal with my clients is winning too much. Winning too much, being right too much, having to prove yourself. And why? It's not they're bad people. It's you have a whole lifetime experience of winning. You won your way up to the top. Well, it's hard to stop. Any human or animal will replicate behavior that's followed by positive reinforcement. The more successful we become, the more positive reinforcement we get. And the more we fall into a trap. I behave this way, I am successful. Therefore, I must be successful because I behave this way. Well, that's wrong. You're successful because you did many, many things right, and in spite of doing things that make no sense. And also, the title of that book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Well, the world changes. And what got us to this place we're in today may or may not be what's important to get us to where we need to get next year.
So Buddhism, that's interesting. Buddhism got you there, and what does it get us here? Uh, and you talk about this concept of you brought it up indirectly so far a few times, but the Western disease,
Right.
right? And at age 19, you witnessed that and wanted to look into Buddhism as a way to achieve confirmation and clarity, not to be converted, which I
Right.
thought was very interesting. It was a side note in your book, but I mean, I think it was powerful for me. How, if you were talking to leaders, what would you say to them in that regard about
Well,
their inclination towards what you call the Western disease?
well, in my coaching, I'm always evolving too. So historically, I did stakeholder coaching. Very straightforward process, which works. Interview people. I develop feedback reports. I give them feedback. They pick what they want to work on. They publicly apologize for their mistakes. They follow up with people on a regular basis. We measure results. And, a huge majority of the time, we get great results. So that's a process that's used around the world, very successfully, by the way, in Asia. But it's used around the world. And that is historically what I did as a coach. Now I'm older. I'm an old man now. And as I've grown older, my mission is more not just to do that, but also help people have a better life. And I know there are many coaches on the call, and I'm going to give you coaches a suggestion. I now say to all my clients, and I have for the last several years, my mission is to help you have a better life here and maybe help the people around you have a little better life. So I want you to have a little better life, and those people have a little better life. And then I always ask a question: is that good enough? Is that okay? You might be surprised to learn that 100% of everyone I've ever coached, no matter how distinguished they are, you know what they've said? That's just fine. If you're a coach and your clients get one message from you, I sincerely am here to help you have a little better life, you won. You won. Not I'm here to be famous and important and prove how great I am, or You know, I just want to help you have a little better life. You won. And, thank you for inviting me to be on this call, because to me, this is my mission in life at my age, is to help as many people as I can have a little better life. So let's maybe help some of the people on this call have a little better life. And even better, if they're coaches, they help other people have a little better life. So if I can do anything, it helps the people on this call help their clients indirectly. I'm helping the world.
Brilliant. So Marshall, you asked me off camera, what about the book impacted me the most? And I'll put myself on the spot. It's the concept that you postulate of impermanence,
Yes.
as did Gautama Buddha. You had sent me in our prep conversations how Buddhist philosophy is incorporated into your coaching. There's several: mindfulness, compassion, non-attachment, personal responsibility.
Right.
Could you talk a little bit more about the concept of impermanence and as it relates to coaching?
Yeah, impermanence to me is a very, very important and critical thing to understand, because in coaching, nothing stays the same. Now, I'm going to ramble around a little bit, but try to answer your question. That book was largely inspired by my friend Mark Thompson and I spent 600 hours with 60 remarkable people. And by the way, the names of people are in the book. It's not a secret who they are. People want to know who my clients are? Read the first 6 pages. That's who my clients are. These are, would you say, you looked at that book, look at the first 6 pages, and my clients, high achievers or low achievers? What do you think?
Overachievers.
Ridiculous high achievers, right? Well, ridiculous high achievers. My friend, we spent 600 hours with these people. And you know what? They're just humans, just like everybody else. And every day we start over. And one thing I teach people in my coaching is there's no there you're going to get to. By the way, everything will be great when I get there. There's only 2 problems with that sentence. One, there is no I. That I is constantly changing. And 2, there is no there. Now, why do we believe all this stuff? We have been hammered about the head literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times with one message. I will describe the great Western art form. You can tell me if you've ever seen this before. Are we ready? There is a person. Oh, the person is sad. Oh, so sad. The person spends money. They buy a product and they become happy. This is called a commercial. Have you ever seen one of these commercials before? How many of those have you seen? Thousands, hundreds of thousands. The same message over and over and over. It's all going to be okay when I buy this product, when I get this, when I get this. No, it's not. The Buddhist term for this is called a hungry ghost. Always eating, yet never full. Always eating, yet never full. So over COVID, look, I was with these 60 people every week. And one other thing that's related to this is we believe, back to impermanence, that if I achieve something, it's going to make me happy, find peace somehow. My life will change after I achieve this thing. If achievement would lead to peace and happiness, those 60 people that I spent 600 hours with would be dancing off the ceiling every day with nothing but joy. One of the great lessons back to impermanence in the book is this: happiness and achievement are independent variables. Happiness and achievement are independent variables. Be happy to be happy. Achieve to achieve. Never believe that achievement will make you happy. It won't. Let me give you some examples. One of the nice people that endorsed my book is named Albert Bourla. Albert was the CEO of Pfizer. called him up a few years ago. Albert, how's it going? He said, it's going good. I came up with that vaccine. Hey, maybe saved 1 billion lives. I said, Albert, that's fantastic. I took that vaccine. Thank you so much for your company's hard work. Any other good news? Yeah, oh yeah, stock price all-time high, and employee engagement through the roof, and pride in the company never been higher. I said, Albert, that's all wonderful news. Do you have any problems? He said, I have a huge problem. Next year. If Albert's definition of success is I have to achieve more than last year, it's never going to happen. We don't want it to happen. We don't want him to achieve more than last year. Michael Phelps won 25 gold medals. What do you think about doing after winning 25? Kill himself. You're not going to achieve your way to happiness. If achievement will make you happy, Michael Phelps would not be depressed. He'd be just jumping up and down with joy. We have been led to believe achievement's going to make us happy. I gave a talk in India not too long ago at the Indian Institute of Technology. And for those of you not from India, put it this way, UCLA had 175,000 applicants last year. It's easy to get in compared to the Indian Institute of Technology. It's impossible. So I'm asked my friend, who's a benefactor of the university, for me to give a talk. It's impossible to exaggerate how smart these kids are and how hard they work. I think nobody's going to care about this talk, some old man talking about Buddhist philosophy, right? I show up, the place is full. Then I think, well, yeah, they're going to look, this is boring. I start talking about life and meaning and achievement and happiness. 10 kids just broke down. They just start crying. They just lost it. These kids never had a life. When did they start preparing for the Indian Institute of Technology? When they were 2 years old. And you know what they thought? They thought, well, gee, my life has been like this, but if I get into IIT, it's all okay. You know what they learned? Their life was like this. They got into IIT. It only got worse. It only got worse. So I'm not saying achievement is a bad thing. It isn't. Achievement is good for achievement, and happiness is good for happiness, and peace is good for peace. Do not confuse these things. Because when you confuse these things, you're back to the hungry ghost. You're never going to achieve enough. By the way, back to Albert. Do you think the stockholders that bought the stock up here care that he came up with a cure for COVID? No. Do you think they care that he saved 1 billion lives? No. Next year, next year, next year. So very important when I work with people now as I try to help them look, find meaning. Find meaning in life. Meaning is important. Why am I doing this? What's the purpose? 2, you have to achieve something. You can't just coast through life. And then 3, enjoy the process of life itself. Enjoy the process of life itself. And if you can simultaneously enjoy the process of life and you feel like you're achieving something and it's connected to your higher purpose, you just won. That's it. That's it. You just won. You won this game. That's it. So with my clients almost all have money. I mean, 4 or 5 of them are billionaires, right? They don't need money. I was just on the phone before this call with somebody who's worth, I don't know, $600-700 million. Now, very interesting. The first time I met him, he came to my home in Nashville. And I'll say his name is Joe. I said, Joe, on an average day, how would you score the answer to this question? Am I happy? 1 to 10. 10 is high, 1 is low. You know, he said 3. Now I said, Joe, I want you to raise your hand and repeat after me. By the way, my coaching techniques are somewhat unorthodox. I said, Joe, I want you to raise your hand and repeat after me. My name is Joe, and I'm an idiot. My name is Joe, and I'm an idiot. And he did. You know what he said? I said, Joe, you're 53 years old. You're good looking. You got a nice wife. You're in great physical condition. You got kids you love. You're worth more money than God. You're living in a mansion. You're sitting here telling me you're not happy? Can you imagine a normal human being listening to you talk? You know what they're thinking? That guy's an idiot. You know what I said? I'm on their team. You're an idiot. You know what he said? Thank you. Thank you. You're right. Now, I just talked to Joe before this call. I'll say his name is Joe. I asked him, are you happy or not? You know what he said? I'm happier. What's that worth to him? What's that worth? You can't buy that. That's worth more than anything you can buy in the store. Well, also, another thing I talk to parents about this, very important. I always ask parents a question. Do you want your kids to be happy? I've asked thousands of questions to parents around the world this question. When my child grows up, I want my child to be, what's the number one word? Happy. So you want your kids to be happy? Yeah. Want the people you love to be happy? Yeah. Want the people you respect to be happy? Yeah. Believe in leadership by example? Yeah. You go first. You'll be happy. You'll be happy. Now, this is a very hard to understand and deep concept. Let me give you an example. I work at St. Jude's Children's Hospital, a very famous children's hospital, and I had the honor of coaching their CEO. And, I cry all the time. I'm kind of a crybaby. And I thought, oh my God, it's going to be hard for me. I see these kids, I'm just going to break down. You know what I say? You never do that in front of those children. If that child sees you and you start crying, you know how the child feels? I make people cry. I am so pathetic. I make everyone cry. You're not helping that kid. You're not helping that kid. You see that child, you smile. You communicate joy and love. You don't communicate sorrow. Very hard, but a wonderful discipline to learn.
Everything that you're saying, there's sort of like these nuggets that we're absorbing, right, Marshall? And I want to sort of, so there, you did dance around, and I want to, as you gave it to me, I just want to sort of structure it for the audience as well.
Sure.
The concepts that you discussed, leadership and change, leadership is an evolution, feedback and growth, accepting feedback. Joe, you're an idiot. Mindfulness and presence, uh, self-explanatory. Detachment from outcomes, which you talked about quite a bit, the material attachments that don't give us happiness. By the way, the IIT example is probably very personal for many, many on this call. Detachment from outcomes, personal development. This is the one that I wanted to stop on for a second, because in the book you talk about adjacencies.
Yeah.
And my interpretation of that is that, for those of us that are in mid-career, or especially coaches, a lot of them are in their encore careers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adjacency is taking what you know and moving it into something adjacent, literally. It's not, recruiters will say, hey, you go executive recruiter, talk to them, go reinvent yourself. So
Right.
I've been a marketing person for 20 years now. I should become a hairdresser. That doesn't make sense, right? It's a transition into something that you know how to do. Can you talk
Right.
about that for a second? Because I found that really interesting.
Yeah, because a lot of times I coach people who are going through this transition. They were a CEO and now they're going to do something else. Well, the first thing I tell them is playing bad golf with old men at the country club eating chicken salad sandwiches while discussing gallbladder surgery may not work out for you. That's probably a phenomenally bad idea. Now, just a couple of funny stories before I started. One of the people I coached named Mike Duke. Mike was CEO of Walmart. So, and Mike had his joke he told, right? He loved his little joke. He said, I always laughed. He said, I retired and I'm in his group. I tell my joke. He said, nobody laughed. I said, well, I'm grumpy. I'm in the second group. Tell my joke. Nobody laughs. Finally, I said, my wife says, Mike, you idiot. Do you really believe that joke was funny? See, when he was the CEO of Walmart, that joke was real funny. He's not CEO, not so much. Well, I deal with a lot of people doing this transition thing, and they're transitioning from being a big dog in their world to maybe not. And I talk about this adjacency because you're not going to, you don't have to start over. Let's say you want to do good deeds. Well, don't lick stamps, right? You can make more of a contribution than that. Use what you've learned. Use what you've learned to be a teacher. Let me give some positive examples of this adjacency concept that I'm so proud of. One was Hubert Joly. Hubert Joly was CEO of Best Buy, phenomenal turnaround, ranked one of the top CEOs in America. I'm very honored. He wrote a book called The Heart of Business. He talks about me in his book. Well, Hubert is very happy right now. He's a professor at Harvard Business School. He's coaching people. He works with us. An amazing guy. He's happy. Well, he's not retired in the traditional sense. He's working as much as he ever did before, yet he's building on what he learned as a CEO. Harry Kramer was the CEO of Baxter, same thing. Really a happy guy, teacher of the year at Northwestern. He is a coach now. Really happy people. So I think, the people that really do successfully transition usually don't ignore everything they learned in the past. They build on what they learned in the past in this new career for the future. So I think that's really a very, very positive transition. And, look at me. I mean, historically, I'd say I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore. All my coaching now is only with other people. Why? Well, I'm going to try everything I do. I ask myself, is this a legacy project? And if the answer is no, I probably shouldn't be doing it. What's legacy mean? Being there when you're not there. So most of my life right now is just all legacy projects. Why? Well, I'm not going to be here. Like Buddha said, you get old, you get sick, and you die. I'm very lucky. I'm not sick. I'm not dead, but I am 75. This train doesn't last forever. And very few people at age 75 are going to, 12 different cities starting next week and traveling all around. Well, that show doesn't go on forever. I'm not naive. So I just want to focus largely on how can I make a difference for people out there, leave a nice legacy. So as best I can be there when I'm not there. Now, one other concept of adjacency for the people on this call is you don't have to do what I do. You can take whatever I learn and just use what works for you. And if I say or do something that doesn't work for you, just ignore it. I won't know the difference. Yeah, Buddha said, only do what I teach if it works for you. I'm certainly no different. And one thing I'm working on now is our computer bot. What I like about that's the same thing. Get a lot of ideas. Works for you, do it. Doesn't work for you, let it go.
The the last bullet that you sent to me on impermanence pertain to organizational change.
Yeah.
And I want to shift on that note. I'm going to shift to a question that is related to the webinar we had yesterday with Dr. Lisa Miller and Priya Ramesh on her book, The Awakened Brain.
Okay.
She made a couple of comments that I resonated with me, and I wanted to pass them on and get your thoughts on them. One is when you go into leadership coaching situation scenarios, what is it like when you bring up spirituality? And the reason I ask is Dr. Lisa Miller said, spirituality is backed by science, and coaches are spiritual leaders.
Right.
In a country like the US, especially where Judeo-Christian values are centric, and folks may or may not be willing to think through the differences between spirituality, faith, and religion. How do you process that with leaders when you come across
Well, again,
folks?
I'm a philosophical Buddhist, so it depends how you define the term spirituality. Do I use spirituality in my coaching? I don't know. You've been listening to me talk. Has anything I've said so far used spirituality in anything I've said? You could say yes, or you could say no. I don't really care because I don't like to really quibble about definitions anyway. So to me, the key is just be who you are, be who you are, be willing to say what you believe. Don't be ashamed of who you are. And that's okay. That's okay. And my whole belief on that is, look, is it a big secret that I'm a Buddhist? Well, no, not much. You read that book, right? Was that particularly subtle or not too subtle? No, I wasn't subtle about that, right? Well, let me ask you a question. In the world of coaching, has this severely hurt my career? I don't know. I mean, maybe my career would have been better without that. It's kind of hard to imagine, though. Got ranked #1 coach in the world forever. And, it didn't seem to severely impact my career. So, how come I did it? I'm going to ask you a question. I'm not particularly in the closet about much of anything here. I talk about what I believe all the time. All right, how come it hadn't hurt my career? If it's such a difficult thing, doesn't seem to have hurt me any. Give me your theory. Why didn't it hurt me any?
Well, I'll frame it for you, Marshall.
Okay.
You said it. You didn't say it. It's in your book. So you said it. I'm just going to reiterate it for you. You said the Buddha was around 3 millennia ago, and what he gave to us were he gave to us those nuggets, which you are now giving us. That's sort of what you're saying, right? I'm not articulating
Yes.
it quite that well, but it's basically what he was giving to the world is what you're trying to do. So in that essence, you are embracing Buddhism at its
Yes.
core.
Yes.
And as you are embracing impermanence at its core, which I think is the key concept. I'm 75 years old. I'm
Right.
going to go to 12 countries in the next 12 weeks. I don't know how we're going to do that, but that's a lot. The have you encountered leaders that challenge or refute the idea of bringing spirituality into their leadership?
You have to realize in my life, I do not work with anything vaguely resembling a normal group of human beings. All right, you looked at my client list. Now, do they vaguely even resemble normal humans? No. They're smart, they're incredibly brilliant, they're successful, they're high achievers. Now, let's say somebody said to me, prove to me this coaching works. Do you know what I'd say? Very good point. I think in your case, it probably does not work. It probably does not work. I think it might be a bad idea. You know, probably right again. Probably is a stupid idea. Don't do it. Well, you see, I don't convince anyone to do anything. I'm not in this. I'm not in the savior business. My name is Marshall Goldsmith, not Jesus Christ. I don't try to save anybody. I only work with people that want to be helped. They want to be helped. They want to work with me. Great. They don't want to be helped. They don't work with me. Great again. I don't care. I'm not trying to convince them of anything. So the reality is, how do I deal with these challenges? I really almost never have any challenges. I don't have any challenges. Why? If somebody says, well, I disagree with this one, I say, fine. It's okay. You disagree. Do something else. I don't care.
Go with the flow.
I
Right.
didn't hear you.
I go with the flow.
Go with the flow. Yeah, go
Yeah.
with the flow. Yeah.
I so this is a good transition to this question that's being posed, and then I actually want to bring it back into a question I have for you. Question is
Sure.
from Vijay Lakshmi. While I get the disconnection between achievement and happiness, are not happiness and peace closely interconnected?
Well, again, I never argue about semantics. So let me give you my theory. If you believe happiness and peace are interconnected, which I don't know, I'd say by your definition, they definitely are. See,
Okay.
my old mentor was Dr. Paul Hersey. He said, never have semantic arguments. So you ask somebody, what is leadership? He would say, well, I believe leadership is working with and through others to achieve objectives. Someone said, well, I disagree. You know what you say? Okay, thank you. You have a different definition. That's okay. They have dictionaries with 40, 50 definitions of words. I'm not saying mine's better than yours. So back to any question involving semantics, Who knows? Like, what's coaching? I don't know what, was there some God up in the sky saying coaching is this, that, or the other, or leadership is this or that? What do you believe this is? Nobody made, I'm not a dictionary, so I try to avoid semantic debates at all times. So back to the nice person asked me the question. My guess is this person closely sees a connection between happiness and peace. Then I would say with almost certainty, for that person, happiness and peace are closely correlated.
It's their truth, right? It's their truth, right? That's what it means to them.
Exactly. Who am
Yeah.
I to sit there and make some absolute statements? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is a good point for me to ping the audience to input some information for us so we can have some fun with that.
Sure.
The book is called The Earned Life. And it's what Buddha wanted us to do, earn that life, right? It's essentially what it is. I'm going to ask the audience to submit an answer to this question. What does, and this is actually an exercise in Marshall's book.
Okay.
So I'm borrowing that from you, Marshall. What
Sure.
does earn mean to you? And if you, Marshall, if you feel like you want to specify that or make that question a little more specific, feel free. I'm just posing that broadly. What does earned mean
Um,
to you?
that's fine. And my guess is people will have different definitions of what that means, which is fine too.
So submit those into the box, and I'll grab things as I see them and throw them out there for Marshall and I to to think about. Earned equals a learned or gained via lived experience. Earned means to show up. Claiming what you gained. Earned presents a process of discovery, achieve, share gifts. Great. These are interesting. And the other concept that I really enjoyed reading about, Marshall,
Hmm.
is your spectrum of regrets to fulfillment.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk a little bit about that in the context of this discussion.
Yeah, and for me, a good question is, would I look back on life and say I regretted doing that? And if so, not so good. And would I say that made me fulfilled? Very good. So I think one of the simple things, back to the Joe case study I mentioned that I was coaching before this, is if Joe looked back on his life and was ready to die and say, my average rating of being happy during this visit to Earth was a 3 out of 10, I think Joe would sit there and feel a lot of regret. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? And so to me, a great exercise I use, and imagine you're going to get ready to die. What advice would that old person have for you? Well, listen to that, because that's very, very important. And what are you going to look back on and be proud of, feel fulfilled? What do you look back on and feel, gee, why did I do that? I'm very sorry. And we just get lost. We say and do things every day that we regret. Why we just get lost? We get lost in achievement. We get lost in the rat race of life. We get lost trying to prove ourselves. We just get lost. Now,
Yeah.
now that we have coaches, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask the coaches a question. Now I'm going to
Go
have
ahead.
coaching. I'm having coaching for the coaches moment. Are you ready? Now, anyone that's been through my coaching will tell you this is not always fun. So for many of you coaches, get ready for coaching for you. And this may not be easy for a lot of you. Are we ready, coaches? Are we ready for some coaching for the coaches? I'm very fortunate in life. I've had many wonderful mentors. One of my great mentors was Peter Drucker, the greatest management thinker in history. I got ranked #1 leadership thinker in the world twice. My intellect compared to him, 10-year-old. The guy was so smart. I'm very lucky. I got to be on his advisory board 10 years. Wonderful person. He taught me so many wonderful lessons. I'm going to share some of those with the fine coaches listening, and then I'm going to do a little coaching for the coaches. Are we ready? Lesson #1. Our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart, not to prove we're right. We're not here on earth to be right or prove we're smart or win some argument. We're going to make a positive difference. Back to semantic debates. What's the point? Are you making a positive difference in the world arguing about the definition of this word? Well, if you are, I guess argue your heart out. If you're not, why are you doing it? It's a waste of time. Number two, every decision in the world is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. Decisions aren't made based on logic or fairness or goodness or rationality. Decisions are made based on power. Whoever's got the power to make decisions can make the decision. Learning point number three, if I need to influence you to make a positive difference on this earth, and you're the decision maker, there's one word to describe you. That word is called customer. One word to describe me, that word is called salesperson. Customers don't have to buy. Salespeople have to sell. Now, in my book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, most of that book talks about something called overselling. Overselling. I promote myself too much, winning too much, trying to be right, adding too much value. Most of those are classic problems related to what I call overselling. I'm promoting myself, but I'm doing it in a way that doesn't help. It's not making a positive difference. In my book that I wrote with Sally Helgesen, by the way, I'm very proud of, called How Women Rise. She's the lead author. She had 85% of the content. I'm still proud of that book. How Women Rise. No negative political feedback on the book from the right or left wing in the United States, a book about women. Amazing. Probably the most popular book for women in leadership in the world in the last 5 years. Phenomenally successful book. I'm so proud of it. How Women Rise. Well, Sally in that book talks the opposite problem. She said, many people I work with, they don't have a problem overselling, they undersell. They underpromote themselves. The world would be better if they were better at promoting themselves. They undersell. Now we're going to have a quiz for all you fine coaches listening to me. Okay? Quiz for fine coaches listening to me. Back to multi-phase quiz. Quiz question number 1. Are we ready, coaches? If you became more powerful and influential, would the world be worse off or better off? Just write down an answer. Worse off, better off. Send in some notes. How about that world? Getting worse off or better off if you become more powerful or influential? What results are we getting there? Well, what's coming up
We're
from there?
getting better off, worse off, nothing changes. Not sure, better off, worse off, no change.
Well, I'm guessing
Better
better
off
off.
1%.
My guess is better off is predominating. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, most coaches say better, and I believe that. Most coaches on this call, I believe if you became more powerful and influential, the world would be better off. Okay. Now,
Yep.
if you don't believe that's true, you're probably in the wrong business. Question number 2. All right. Now we're done with question 1. Now we're moving to question 2. Does trying to become more powerful and influential make you feel uncomfortable? Sometimes uncomfortable, striving for recognition, influence. Does it make you uncomfortable there? Yes or no? What are we getting here? Yes or
We're
no?
getting yes, yes, no, yes, 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 yes.
Oh, my guess is, would you agree?
90%
Huge.
yes.
How much percent?
90% yes.
Huge. Yes. It makes me uncomfortable. Ready for this painful coaching? Oh, it makes me uncomfortable. If you became more powerful and influential, would the world be better off or worse off? We said better off. Oh, but it makes you feel uncomfortable. All right, coaches, ready for the hard coaching. What's more important to you? Making the world better or being comfortable? What's more important? Making the world better or being comfortable? Well, you want to make the world better, get over being uncomfortable. Get
If
over
that
it.
is a question, Marshall, then you have about 100% hit on making the world better.
Well, guess what? What have I just learned? Get over it. Now, have any of you ever heard the stupid phrase, my good work should speak for itself? Any of you heard that phrase? That's an idiot phrase. Your good work is not going to speak for itself. God's not going to fly out of the sky and recognize you for your good work. If that were true, no company would have a marketing function. That is ridiculous. You got to speak for yourself. No, your good work's not going to speak for itself. You're in charge of your marketing function. You are in charge of your marketing function. Now, you want to be credible in life. Credibility means 2 things. 1, I am competent. And my guess is most of the coaches on this call work very hard at being competent. They're not phonies. They're not insecure. They work hard at being competent. Number two, I'm recognized for being competent. How hard do you work on promoting your brand? How hard do you work on being recognized? My guess is much less. Well, if you want to be credible, you need to have two things. I need to be competent. I need to be recognized. How many books are on Amazon last year? 44 million. How many books have to sell to be in the top half of all books sold on Amazon last year? In 1 year, two. Half of them sold 0 to 1. Now, it doesn't mean they're bad books. I'm not so arrogant to believe all my books. I've sold 3 or 4 million books. I'm not so arrogant to believe my books are better than 22 million other books. I'm not that arrogant. Statistically, many of those books are better than anything I ever wrote. No one bought them. Credibility is two things. One, write a good book. Two, someone buys it. Okay, you write a good book and nobody buys it. Who cares? Who'd you write the book for? Yourself? Yourself? So my advice to the coaches is get over this old noises in your head. I shouldn't have to strive. I shouldn't have to promote myself. My good work should speak for itself. Where do those stupid voices come from? A bunch of old royalty that controlled the world by ramming that down poor people's throats for centuries with great success. Get over it. Get over it. Yeah. You're a good
There's
person. You want to make the world better? Guess what? Forget about being uncomfortable.
also, if your books didn't sell, there's no accounting for taste. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
There's a question here, or there's a comment here actually that's interesting. I want to throw it out there for us to talk about. Verena Mesger says, most people here are women, and we are trained to not want power.
Right.
And that's preference. And you made a comment about Lisa,
Right.
her.
Yeah. That's right. You know what? Back to impermanence. Take a deep breath. That was the previous version of you. You want to carry around the rest of your life? Go ahead. You don't want to, you don't have to. You're an adult. Let it go. Let it go.
That's a powerful answer. That's a powerful answer. It ties back to the Buddhist wrapper and the idea of impermanence, right? And
That's right.
the Buddhist monks who were crossing the river, and one of them carried a lady across, and the other one said, "Why'd you do that?" And like,
Yeah.
"You're carrying it, not me." I love that. I love that anecdote. I'm assuming everyone knows what I'm talking about, because I want to use too much time in describing it. But with the last 7 minutes or so, I want to make sure that if there are any questions, that please feel free to pose them into the chat box. I will ask Marshall those questions if I can get to them.
Well, I'd like to ask them a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My mission in life is very simple. To help you and maybe the people around you have a little better life. That's it. I'm very honored to talk to people like coaches. Why? You're trying to make the world better. And if I help you, that's good. You help others, even better. Indirectly, I'm helping the people you help. So I've got a very selfish motivation for being here. You're giving me meaning in life. Why am I here? You are giving me meaning in life. Now, if you don't mind, just write down one little thing. Maybe what's one thing I said today that might help you or the people around you have a little better life. That's all. And if people write some comments, maybe you could read them to me.
Sure. Achievement and happiness are separate things.
Good.
Nirvana is now. Get over yourself. Get over your discomfort. There's no such thing as there. Slow down and be present. Take myself lightly. I'm an idiot. Acceptance is key. Oh, women not wanting power is a previous version of myself. Get over it. We are starting over with every breath we take. As it looks like the sort of the trend is the idea of impermanence, which I think is so powerful, and which you brought to light. And I love that. And that was what I love too. So we're collectively enjoying the idea of impermanence. Be egoless. You have to speak for yourself. There's nothing wrong with marketing. This is also good. Marshall had told me in preparation for this that I should go to his chatbot and ask it questions around everything and anything, but also around how spirituality and Buddhism and any other faith-based concepts might pertain. And who could have thought two bald men could be so entertaining and enlightening? It's show business, Marshall. Let's go on the road. The yeah, Marshall's chatbot. Marshall, you want to plug it, and then I can
Yeah,
just
yeah. It's all. Yeah, I want everybody to do me a favor. Now, I'm donating my time to try to help you today. You can help me. I want everybody to go to marshallgoldsmith.ai. That's my computer bot. Ask it any question you want. For example, you could ask it, how is Buddhism related to your coaching? It'll give you a brilliant answer. How's impermanence related to your coaching? You can drill down on that and get a great, how's Islamic philosophy related to your coaching? You say, how's anything related to my coaching? This thing is mind-bogglingly good. You can do me a favor. Go to marshallgoldsmith.ai and start asking it questions and just send me a note. Send me a note about I'm giving this away to everybody. It's right now, it started with text, it's going to be audio, it's going to be video. And back to legacy, I'm not going to be here anyway. So I'm trying to be able to put everything I know online, and it's all free, by the way. Some people at Fractal Analytics in India they're donating this to the world. So it's all free. And it's not a catch either. It's not like, well, it's free, but if you go to the special door and spend money, you get something extra. No, there's no catch. It's all just free. So please use it any way you want. And if you can use that to help you, great. And by the way, you ask it for ideas. If it gives you a good idea, great. Thank you, MarshallBot. Gives you a stupid idea. Thank you, MarshallBot. Just ignore the idea. I don't think I'm going to know the difference, and I doubt my computer bot will. So you can do me a big favor. Go to marshallgoldsmith.ai if you don't mind. It would mean a lot to me. And just start asking it questions. And by the way, if anybody asks it, let's say, over 500 questions, the first one sends me an email, says, ask it 500 questions. I'll donate 1 hour of my time and just talk to you about anything you want or your clients. So ask it 500 questions, you get an hour of my time. First one to call wins. So anyway, and by the way, everybody's on the honor system. So I just trust people.
1 hour with Marshall is a significant reward. Let's just put it that way. That's no joke. I want to close out as we get towards the end here. Many things to talk about. One is that this webinar will be recorded. It has been recorded and will be on YouTube, therefore feeding more into your chatbot, Marshall. Everything we talked about today is also now part of the metaverse and will be part of your avatar for years to come. And I'm loving that I might be part of it. That's incredible. So many things to recap here. I'm going to try to. We tried to create a connection between leadership and spirituality as it pertains to the wrapper of Buddhism that Marshall has opined in the book The Earned Life, which I found incredibly helpful for me in so many ways, resonated with some of the concepts. Your anecdotes are great. Your conversations with leaders allow us to also as coaches understand how we may frame our conversations with leaders. And your own personal journey obviously is incredible. I want to leave with the comment that apropos to Buddhism, you've helped us achieve some level of enlightenment today, just as Gautama Buddha once did. I have enjoyed this conversation immensely and hope to have many more. Thank you for being supporting of us. Is there anything that you'd like to say, Marshall, in closing?
Again, I just want to say to all the coaches listening, just I hope you have a better life, a little bit. Be happy, accept yourself, enjoy the process. What you're doing is meaningful. You're helping other people have a better life. And if I teach you anything that you can use to help other people, then you've given me the greatest gift, the gift of meaning. So thank you so much for giving this gift to me.
Beautifully said, Marshall. Safe travels, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience. Thanks for joining. We will see you for the rest of the week at our webinar series. See you in the virtual halls. And any questions that you may have, send them to us, and we look forward to connecting with you wherever you are. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.